This is the new entry-level single motor version of the Polestar 2. If you ask me, it's the pick of the Polestar 2 range. And this is the entry-level single motor version of the Tesla Model 3, which is also the pick of the Tesla Model 3 range. But which of these two cars is best? Well, to find out, I'm going to compare their energy usage, their performance, their exteriors, their interiors, their practicality, and what they like to drive. It's going to be a tough call. It's very, very close. Now, if you enjoy these kind of videos, please make sure you subscribe to this channel and hit the bell icon to turn your notifications on. That way you won't miss a single upload. Anyhow, I'm Matt Watson and you're watching Carwow.
Buying a new car? Then head to Carwow and my team will help you find your next car at a fair price. Carwow, your one-stop car buying comparison site.
Let's start off this review by comparing these cars' performance. They're both single motors, however the motor in the Polestar is at the front, driving the front wheels. The motor in the Tesla is at the back, driving the rear wheels. The motor in the Polestar has up to 231 horsepower and 330 newton meters of torque. The one in the Tesla has 296 horsepower and 376 newton meters of torque. What does that do for the performance? Let's launch them. This Polestar is supposed to do 0-60 in 7.2 seconds, but let's see what it will really do. I've got my specialist timing gear here. I'm just going to launch it. Very steady, smooth, undramatic takeoff. But what will the time be? 7.29. It's all right. It's not amazing, but it's fairly nippy. It's like hot hatchy, well, older hot hatchy, like Ford Fiesta hot hatchy kind of quick. This Tesla is supposed to do 0-60 in 5.3 seconds, but what will it really do? Let's do it. Let's find out the truth. Smooth takeoff, no slip, just building the power nicely. They're only going to smash it. 5.2 seconds. It didn't feel that brutal. It was smooth taking off, but it just keeps on accelerating. It's not bad for like the entry-level car, is it? You know, I think that's quicker than like Porsche 911 996. Now let's compare these cars' battery sizes, their range and their charging. So one of the great things about the Tesla Model 3 is that you have access to the Tesla supercharger network, which obviously other electric cars can't use at the moment. Also, the car's sat-nav is really good at plotting your journey to stop at the right charge at the right time. So it's just dead easy. If you're a beginner EV user, this makes your life much easier. In terms of the battery size, it's a 50 kilowatt hour battery. Now, it will charge at a rate of up to 170 kilowatts. And if you charge it at a 150 kilowatt charger, it will go from 10% to 80% full in just 23 minutes. Now, if you're charging it at home on a wallbox charger, it'll do it overnight. Simple. Now we come to the Polestar 2 and things are a little bit more confusing because there's two battery sizes. So you can get a smaller battery size which has a usable capacity of 61 kilowatt hours. Now with that battery it can charge at a maximum rate of 116 kilowatts. And if you find a rapid charger it can go from 10% to 80% full in 33 minutes. Then there's the bigger battery. So that has a capacity of 75 kilowatt hours. It can charge at a rate of 155 kilowatts. Also, you get more range, obviously, out of the bigger battery. It can do 335 miles on a full charge. The smaller battery, however, it can only do 273 miles on a full charge. And you compare that to the Tesla with a claimed range of 278 miles. Now, that does make a difference, but then so does the price. So the Polestar starts slightly cheaper than the Tesla. It's at £40,000. Tesla, £41,000. That's for the smaller battery for this Polestar. However, if you're looking at a leasing deal through CarWow, this is $395 per month compared to $382 for the Tesla. Now, if you want to check out different leasing deals and prices of electric cars, make sure you're getting the best deal. Click on the pop-out banner up there to go to CarWow. Alternatively, at a later date, you can simply Google "Help Me CarWow." And my team and I will help you choose the right car for you and get it for a fair price from either one of our trusted dealers or one of our leasing partners. Now let's compare these cars' designs. So it's quite simple this. The Polestar 2 is better looking. It's a fact. Don't disagree with me. See, the Tesla looks a little bit like a fish. I know some people might complain that this seems a little bit high off the ground, but I quite like that. It's just cooler. If you disagree, let me know in the comments and I'll downvote your comment. I'm going to compare the brakes on these cars now. So the Polestar 2 has 345mm discs at the front and 340s at the rear. Tesla on its website doesn't disclose anything about the brakes. So I've had to go on forums and they say 320mm discs up front and 335mm at the back. I do know about the weights though. So the Polestar, for the smaller battery, it comes in at 1,940 kilos. This one here, which has the bigger battery, it's pretty much 2 tons. Tesla, much lighter, 1,700 kilos. How does all that affect the braking performance? Let's do it. Now I'm going to do a brake test on this Tesla. What distance will it take it to stop from 60 miles an hour? Let's find out now. a distance of 31 metres. It's good. Okay, let's see if this Polestar can stop in a shorter distance than the Tesla. Braking time now. Felt good to me. What did we get? It was exactly the same. 31 metres. Exactly the same. Apart from this guy, got a massive pull from the seatbelt. Was it thought I was going to crash and die? Didn't though. 31 metres, good. Now, a lot of you are probably wondering, Matt, you talked about the range earlier, but that was the claimed range from the manufacturers. What will these cars do in the real world? Well, what I'm going to do now is drive both of them in town, on a motorway and on a twisty road. And I'm going to see what their average energy consumption is and then work out what their real world ranges will be at the end of this video. So let's get on with it. Now, when you compare the Polestar on a twisty road to the Tesla, if you're into a sporty drive, you're going to want the Tesla, without a doubt. This just feels like a normal car. You know, it's adequate, it doesn't roll over or lean too much in the bends. It feels sure-footed, but it's in no way fun. Part of the reason is the steering. It's just like, it's like it's not even connected to the wheels. Points the car where you want it to go, but you don't really get anything from the road through your hand. So there's that element of communication with the car just not there. Another thing is, being front wheel drive, it doesn't push you through the turns, it pulls you through them, and it's just not a sporty feeling. You're also sitting slightly higher, which once again reduces the sporty feeling. It does an adequate job. Most people will be happy with it. And the motor, you know, once you're traveling, it's got enough punch and torque to just pick up nicely. So in that respect, it's good, but it's just like a normal everyday car really on a twisty road. You're not going to go, oh, let's go out for a drive in the Polestar 2, that'll be fun. You're just going to drive it from A to B. Jumping out of the Polestar and into the Tesla, this immediately feels more sporty. You sit low down, closer to the road, so you feel more connected to it. You've also got quite a low dash, and the forward visibility is great. Another thing is the motor just has a bit more power and punch. And when you combine that with the fact that this weighs in at 1,700 kilos, which means it's about 300 kilos lighter than that Polestar, it's just more responsive to your accelerator and to your steering inputs because the car is more agile. It feels genuinely sporty to drive. Part of that is helped by the fact it's rear wheel drive, so you're pushed out of the corners rather than pulled through them. And when you accelerate out of a bend, you can feel the rear squat and the drive being laid down and a little bit of a wiggle from the tail. It really is genuinely good fun, this, to drive. It really is. Anyone who says electric cars are boring should drive a Tesla Model 3. I like it, it's fun. And I like fun. Although that's a ridiculous thing to say really, isn't it? Because, like, who doesn't like fun?
Hate, 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 hate. Double hate.
Before we go any further, let's compare these cars' interior designs. So the Tesla's is super minimalistic. That's because there's no buttons, because everything is controlled through this screen. It's a huge screen, brilliant definition. It's responsive as well. However, it can be a fast sometimes trying to prod away at these icons when you're driving. Storage is all right though. Plenty of it, and you got charging points there. It's pretty decent. And I quite like this white interior, but I might be in the minority. The Polestar feels more like a normal car here on the inside, and I actually prefer the design of the dash. Though once again, it's very minimalistic and most things are controlled through this screen, and it's pretty decent to use as well because it's basically just running Android Auto, quite simple. What I do prefer of the Tesla for sure is the quality. It just feels a little bit better made. However, in-car storage isn't quite as good, though to be fair, it's still fairly decent. There's enough space for all your bits and pieces. Now though, let's do a bit more driving. This Polestar is pretty nice to drive in town. You got a turning circle of 11.5 meters, which is good. Steering's nice and light as well, got it in its lightest setting, and I've got the drive mode in one pedal drive, so even if you're approaching something like a zebra crossing, you need to stop to let someone across. No one really there. Well, actually I can see a few ghosts. Anyway, look, you can stop. I just lift off the accelerator and I didn't even touch the brakes, and it just brought the car to a stop. It blends the regenerative braking for the motor and the battery with the actual brakes. Over bumps, it's reasonably comfy, this car. Has a slightly firmish edge, but not in like an overly firm and comfy way. More just a reassured, not wallowy, silly, soft and squidgy kind of way. Which is how I actually like it. No one really likes soft and squidgy. Now I've jumped into the Tesla, and the first thing I notice is the one pedal drive. Slows down nicely, but it's not quite as definite the way it stops, so there's still a little bit of kind of roll at the very end, and you're never sure whether you're going to just go and accidentally knock over some old lady. That's not true, it's fine. It's just ever so slightly. Well, I can't fault those as suspension. Very comfy car over bumps. I think it's slightly better than the Polestar, the way it deals with bumps. What I do notice though is that when you go over bumps, you hear some noise a little bit of like the body flexing or panels moving ever so slightly. Visibility wise, you're sitting lower so you don't get such a good view over, but you do get an amazing view, and I'm not sure which I prefer, the higher driving position or the more panoramic view you get in this Tesla. It's a tough one. Steering wise, let's go comfort, nice and light steering. Brakes as well. They're quite progressive. Sometimes electric cars can have abrupt brakes. The Polestars are fine. I think these probably are even better judged. Finally though, we need to test out the turning circle. So here's the mini roundabout. Can I make it round in one go without humiliating myself and Tesla in the process? Let's find out. Turning circle on this is slightly more than the Polestar, 11.8 meters. So what's that? 30 meters? No, what am I talking about? 30 centimeters difference. Look, yeah, that's gonna be fine. It's hard to fault. One thing I really like about the Tesla Model 3 is that in the back seats, it feels really super airy, especially with the white interior trim. Got big rear windows, there's enough space, you've got that glass roof, which is standard, by the way. When it comes to fitting a baby seat, it's fairly easy. You do have to stoop down a little bit to get it in, and it's a bit hard to get to the ISOFIX anchor points, but you can still fit a big rear-facing seat in the back, no problem, without having to move that front seat forward. It is slightly easier to fit a baby seat in the back of the Polestar 2. It does help that the ISOFIX anchor points are easier to get to, and you don't have to bend down so much to actually get the seat in. Also, I like the fact that there's cutouts in the floor, so your feet are a bit lower than in the Tesla, so you're not sitting quite so much like that. But other than that, I prefer the back seats of the Tesla. For instance, there is more headroom in the Tesla. The seats themselves feel a bit more comfortable. The windows are bigger, and the glass roof in this is an optional extra. In fact, the Tesla is pretty much fully loaded, and there are quite a few things you might want to add to this car. On the Tesla, you get surround view cameras as standard, not on this. Anyway, let's continue with a bit more driving. This Polestar is fairly comfy to drive on the motorway. Notice a bit of wind noise, a bit of tyre noise, but they're not too intrusive. Seats are comfy. I like the fact that you can sit up a bit higher than in the Tesla, which gives you a little bit of a view over vehicles ahead of you. One thing that I don't like so much, automatic cruise control. You don't get it as standard, it's part of a £3,000 option pack. But you still have the button for the radar assist, which will keep you a safe distance from the car in front, so you know that you haven't got this kit selected on your car. You know, it should come as standard. Performance for overtaking, adequate. It's not stellar, but it's all you really need. You know, I'm fine with this car. More than happily do lots of miles in it. Now let's see what this Tesla Model 3 is like to drive on the motorway, and yeah, it's very, very good. It gets double glazing on these windows, and that helps reduce wind noise. Though to be fair, it's very, very similar to the Polestar 2. There's not much between them. The only thing that I will say is that when you go over a big bump in this, you get more noise from the suspension. It sort of goes gloop. One way this car is better than the Polestar though is that as standard you get automated cruise control with lane keeping assist, so it does everything for you. You still have to keep your wits about you a little bit, you know, it's not completely infallible, though it does most of the hard work, so keeping you in lane and accelerating and braking, you just got to monitor it. It's great, it's standard, and it's a real shame that it's not on the Polestar. Let's continue with practicality by looking at these cars' boots. So they both have a boot at the back and a smaller one at the front. Combined, the Tesla has 425 litres of storage capacity. This has 440 litres. This has a slightly smaller front boot than the Tesla, but it has a bigger rear boot. Also, has a hatchback tailgate, which is more practical than the saloon boot on this. So yeah, this is just a bit more practical, I think. Last thing to do, check these cars' real world range. So over my 16-mile route, this Tesla Model 3 was doing 213 watt hours per mile. When I do the maths, that works out to 4.69 miles per kilowatt hour. And when you multiply that up by the battery capacity of 50 miles, you end up with 234 miles of real world range from this car. Remember, it's supposed to do 278, so kind of close. Now the Polestar over the same journey was using 31.2 kilowatt hours per 100 miles, which works out to 3.2 miles per kilowatt hour. This is a larger battery car which has a usable capacity of 75 kilowatts. Work that out, it comes to a real world range of 240 miles. So only 6 miles more than that Tesla. And this is the bigger battery, which is £3,000 more expensive than the entry-level car. And remember, this car has a claim range of 335 miles. So its energy usage just isn't as good as the Teslas. So then, what's my final verdict? Well, I really like this single motor version of the Polestar 2, but I do still prefer the Tesla Model 3. It's just a bit nicer to drive. You've got access to the Tesla supercharger network, which makes it easier to live with. And the best bit is, it's cheaper to buy. And that's why it wins this test. Hope you all enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a like. Let me know some other videos you'd like to see in the comments below. Click on those windows there for some more videos. And if you click on that box there, you can go to my version of my OnlyFans page.